I still remember the exact moment it all began. The morning sunlight filtering through the office blinds, casting golden rectangles across my desk at Apex Technologies. 7 years as a software developer, and I had finally found my mentor in James. He was more than a team lead. He was the big brother I never had. The Nexus project was my chance, our chance to shine. If only I had seen the warnings behind those encouraging smiles and late-night strategy sessions. I never saw it coming. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever trusted someone who later stabbed you in the back. Trust me, this workplace betrayal might help you spot the office snake before they strike. My name is Ryan Mitchell, 32 years old, and born to humble beginnings in suburban Indianapolis. My parents taught high school dad mathematics, mom English literature, instilling in me both analytical thinking and appreciation for a well-crafted story. Neither prepared me for the one I would live through. College was a grind of part-time jobs and late-night coding sessions. I graduated with honors from Purdue University, student loans hanging over me like storm clouds. Landing the job at Apex Technologies felt like the sun breaking through. A mid-sized software company with ambitions of joining the tech giants Apex had a reputation for innovation and grooming talent from within. The glass and steel building housed approximately 200 employees across 4 floors. Our development team occupied the 3rd floor, an open-concept workspace designed to foster collaboration. Motivational posters with generic phrases about teamwork and excellence hung on walls painted in company colors, navy blue and silver. The energy was palpable. Everyone moved with purpose, spoke in excited tones about projects and possibilities. James Walker headed our team. At 42, he had the confident stride of someone comfortable in their professional skin. Tall and always impeccably dressed in button-downs and slacks. Even on casual Fridays, his salt and pepper hair gave him an air of distinguished authority. His management style was hands-on, but not suffocating. "I trust my people," he would say. "My job is just to clear obstacles from your path." Sofia Garcia ran our department with precision and fairness. In her early 50s, she had broken through several glass ceilings to reach her position. Her standards were high but consistent. "Deliver excellence, and you will be recognized," was her mantra. I believed it. Derek Thompson sat 3 desks away from mine. Quiet and observant, he had been with Apex almost as long as James. Rumors circulated that he had once been on the fast track before suddenly plateauing. His contributions in meetings were infrequent but insightful. Something in his eyes suggested he knew more than he said. Then there was Allison Hayes, the newest addition to our team. Fresh from a startup that had flamed out spectacularly, she brought energy and outside perspective. Ambitious and sharp, she asked questions others might consider impertinent. James seemed both impressed and wary of her. The announcement of the Nexus project came during a company-wide meeting in February. CEO Martin Blake described it as the future of our enterprise services platform. Success would mean contracts with Fortune 500 companies. Failure would cede ground to competitors. The project lead would gain visibility with the board and likely promotion. I caught James glancing at me when Blake mentioned promotion opportunities. Outside work, I had recently proposed to Megan after 4 years together. We had met at a friend's barbecue. She spilled lemonade on my shirt, and I made a terrible joke about life-giving lemons. Somehow it worked. Megan taught 3rd grade and understood dedication to a calling. We were saving for a modest house in the suburbs, discussing hypothetical children's names, building towards something real and lasting. James took an interest in me early in my tenure at Apex. Our mentoring relationship began formally scheduled meetings, discussing career goals and technical challenges. It evolved into something more personal over time. Drinks after work became a regular occurrence. He shared stories of his college days at MIT, his divorce 3 years prior, his teenage daughter in Boston. "You remind me of myself 20 years ago," he told me once, nursing a whiskey. "Need at O'Malley's, our usual Friday haunt. Hungry, smart, but not ruthless like some of these kids coming in now." As the selection process for the Nexus project lead began, James suggested I throw my hat in the ring. "You have got innovative ideas, Ryan. Fresh perspectives, Sophia has noticed. His encouragement fueled late nights at the office. I pored over market analyses, competitor products, emerging technologies. My relationship with Megan strained under the weight of my ambition. "I barely see you anymore," she said one night, standing in our kitchen in pajamas, arms crossed. "Is this how it is going to be once we are married too?" "This is temporary," I promised. "This project could set us up for everything we have been planning." She nodded, understanding but not entirely convinced. James offered guidance throughout my preparation. "Focus on scalability," he advised. "The executive team worries about infrastructure costs." His insights seemed invaluable, a secret map to terrain he had navigated before. I believed completely in our friendship. The signs were there, but filtered through trust, they appeared as something entirely different from what they were. The idea came to me during a shower, those moments when the mind relaxes enough for inspiration. A microservice architecture that would allow incremental deployment while maintaining system integrity, reducing downtime and costs simultaneously. I sketched it hastily on a steam-fogged bathroom mirror, then transferred it to my notebook. The next morning I rushed to James's office, barely containing my excitement. His door was always open to me. "This could be the cornerstone of the whole project," I explained, spreading my diagrams across his desk. His eyes widened as he grasped the implications. "This is brilliant, Ryan," he said, leaning forward. "Truly innovative thinking." We scheduled a work session that evening to refine the concept. James ordered Thai food. We commandeered the small conference room with the comfortable chairs. For hours we dissected every aspect of my proposal, examining potential weaknesses, enhancing strengths. James took copious notes on his laptop. "Walk me through the implementation timeline again," he said around 11 o'clock, rubbing his eyes behind his glasses. I explained each phase in detail, from initial architecture to full deployment. James nodded, asking pointed questions that helped sharpen my thinking. When we finally packed up after midnight, I felt confident and grateful. "Get some rest," James said, clapping my shoulder in the empty parking garage. "This presentation will knock their socks off." The morning of the presentation, something felt off. James arrived uncharacteristically early, already set up in the conference room when I arrived. He barely acknowledged my greeting, focused intently on his laptop. "Everything okay?" I asked, setting my coffee down. "Just some last-minute tweaks," he replied without looking up. "By the way," I switched the presentation order. "I will go first to set the stage for the technical details." Before I could question this change, Sophia entered with 2 board members. The room quickly filled with department heads and key stakeholders, 15 people around an oval table, each with the power to shape careers. James stood confidently, connecting his laptop to the projector. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "After extensive research and analysis, I have developed an approach for Nexus that I believe will revolutionize our service delivery." The first slide appeared, and my blood froze. There on the screen was my architecture diagram, slightly redesigned but unmistakably mine. As James eloquently explained his innovative approach to microservices, each point mirrored our late-night discussion. He even used some of my exact phrasing. I sat paralyzed, a high-pitched ringing in my ears, drowning out portions of his speech. When he finished, to appreciative nods and thoughtful questions, Sophia turned to me. "Ryan, your turn. Let us see what you have prepared." Standing on wooden legs, I connected my laptop. As you will see, I began haltingly. My approach involves a microservice architecture, similar to. I could not say what James just presented. The words stuck in my throat. Similar to current industry standards, I amended, but with several key differences. I struggled through my presentation now, seemingly derivative of James's. Each slide felt weaker than the last. The curious expressions around the table shifted to confusion, then dismissal. James spoke up during the Q&A. "I think what Ryan is suggesting could complement some aspects of the primary architecture I presented," he said magnanimously. "Perhaps in a supporting role." Sophia nodded. "Thank you both. We will take these proposals under advisement and announce the project leadership by the end of the week." The elevator ride afterward exists in my memory as a scene from a nightmare. James and I alone, descending in silence until the doors were nearly closed on the lobby level. "That is just business," he whispered as he stepped out. Nothing personal. I stood rooted, watching his back retreat through the glass doors to the street. The elevator doors closed, carrying me back up to a floor where I could no longer bear to be, yet had nowhere else to go. Colleagues who had witnessed the presentation subtly distanced themselves that afternoon. Conversations hushed when I approached the break room. Derek gave me a look that seemed almost like pity before quickly averting his eyes. Megan noticed something wrong the moment I arrived home. "What happened?" she asked, setting aside the lesson plans she had been reviewing. When I explained, her indignation flared on my behalf. "You need to tell Sophia that is plagiarism, plain and simple." "It is my word against his," I replied. "He is a trusted team lead. I am just another developer." "Then quit. Find somewhere that values integrity. We have a mortgage deposit to save, wedding expenses. We cannot afford for me to be unemployed right now." Our argument escalated until we retreated to separate rooms, the first time that had ever happened in our relationship. The announcement came via company-wide email on Friday afternoon. James Walker would lead the Nexus project with authority to select his implementation team. I was assigned as a team member reporting directly to the man who had stolen my ideas. In subsequent project meetings, I witnessed James continue to appropriate concepts from our team. An optimization algorithm Derek mentioned in passing appeared in James's development plan the following week. A database schema Allison had been refining was presented as James's solution to our storage challenges. Night after night, I lay awake beside Megan, alternating between self-doubt and simmering anger. Had my ideas not been as original as I thought? Should I have protected myself somehow? Was I overreacting to standard corporate politics? During a team lunch that James conspicuously did not attend, I overheard two senior developers discussing previous projects. "Remember how Jackson left so suddenly last year, right after that presentation, where James shut him down?" One nudged the other as they noticed me listening. I was becoming the cautionary tale, the naive developer who did not understand how the game was played. Yet playing by those rules felt like surrendering something essential about myself. Working under James became an exercise in humiliation. In team meetings, he would ask for my input, then subtly undermine it. Interesting perspective, Ryan, but perhaps not fully considering the enterprise-level implications. The subtext was clear to everyone. I lacked the vision for this project. The first code review was devastating. I had spent 70 hours on a critical authentication module. James dissected it line by line in front of the team, finding flaws I knew had not been there in my submission. Examining the repository history later, I discovered changes made to my code 4 hours after my final commit but before the review. Someone had accessed my work and deliberately sabotaged it. The timestamps coincided with the building access logs, showing James returning to the office after dinner. Suspicion became certainty when it happened again the following week. This time I had kept separate copies of my work. The differences were undeniable. Someone had added inefficient loops and redundant logic to make my code appear amateurish. I stayed late one evening pretending to leave but doubling back to observe from an unused conference room with sightlines to my desk. At 9:15, James emerged from his office, looked around the empty floor and approached my workstation. Using an admin badge, he logged into my computer and began altering files. The confrontation happened in the parking garage the next morning. I intercepted James beside his black Audi. "I know what you are doing," I said, adrenaline making my voice shake. "I have evidence of you tampering with my work." James straightened, towering over me. His friendly mentor mask disappeared, replaced with something cold and calculating. Evidence of what? A team lead, reviewing code before it embarrasses the project. Be careful about making accusations without understanding the consequences, Ryan. Why would you do this? I thought we were friends. Friends. He laughed, a short, harsh sound. This is a trillion-dollar industry, not summer camp. There are ladders to climb, and sometimes people get stepped on. Nothing personal. I could take this to HR, to Sophia. His smile returned, confident and utterly without warmth. By all means. Sophia and I have known each other for 15 years. We attended the same business school. Her husband and I play golf monthly. HR reports to executives who need this project to succeed with minimal disruption. He checked his watch. Meeting in 10 minutes. Do not be late. The conversation left me reeling. Later that day, Derek approached my desk when James was in a budget meeting. "I saw you talking with James this morning," he said quietly, eyes on his coffee mug. Looked intense. I hesitated, then took a chance. He has been sabotaging my work. Derek's lack of surprise was confirmation itself. 4 years ago, it was my project he took over, my innovative payment processing system. He gave a bitter smile. I confronted him too. 2 months later, I was on performance improvement plan for failing to meet expectations. He tapped my desk twice before walking away. "Just watch yourself." Through careful conversations and observations, I discovered a pattern. James identified promising talent, mentored them to gain their trust and access to their ideas, then systematically undermined them after extracting what he needed. At least 4 employees had left Apex following similar experiences. None had formally complained, all had feared for their professional reputations and future job prospects. The project deadline loomed like a guillotine blade. James had implemented my architecture, but with critical modifications that missed essential security considerations. I had flagged these in code reviews, only to have my comments dismissed as overthinking the threat model. The breaking point came during a status update meeting. James presented progress to Sophia and 2 vice presidents, taking credit for resolving a particularly thorny integration issue that I had solved over a weekend of non-stop work. I began. Ryan actually struggled with this problem initially. James interrupted smoothly. Fortunately, I was able to guide the implementation toward the elegant solution you see here. Something snapped inside me. I excused myself abruptly and barely made it to the bathroom before panic overwhelmed me. Locked in a stall breath coming in gasps, I confronted the reality that not only was my work being stolen, but my professional reputation was being systematically destroyed. That evening, Megan found me at the kitchen table staring at job listings on my laptop. "You cannot just give up," she said, sitting beside me. "What about speaking with HR? James has connections throughout the company." It would be his word against mine, and he has been laying groundwork to discredit me for months. Then document everything. Build a case no one can dismiss. The Ryan I fell in love with does not let bullies win. Her faith steadied me, but I remained uncertain about confronting James directly again. Instead, I watched silently as the project approached its critical demonstration for potential clients. James had ignored fundamental security protocols in favor of flashy features that looked impressive in demos, but created significant vulnerabilities. The demonstration day arrived with executives from 5 Fortune 500 companies in attendance. James presided confidently over the presentation, showcasing the platform's capabilities. 30 minutes in, during a live transaction demonstration, exactly what I had feared occurred. The system crashed spectacularly. Error messages splashed across the projection screen, exposing vulnerable endpoints and unsanitized database queries. One visiting security officer visibly winced. James fumbled through an explanation, then did what I had anticipated, but still could not believe. This component was Ryan's responsibility. Clearly, there are issues with the implementation. All eyes turned to me. In that moment, I saw my career at Apex, possibly my career in software development, evaporating. The aftermath was brutal. Sophia called me into her office the following morning. "The demonstration failure has cost us at least 2 contracts," she said without preamble. "James informs me that you ignored specific architectural guidance." I sat in her office, hearing my professional eulogy, wondering how I had allowed things to reach this point. Later, alone in my car in the parking garage, I contemplated the smoldering ruins of the career I had worked so hard to build. 7 years at this company reduced to a cautionary tale about the developer who could not deliver. The injustice burned like acid. The tap on my car window startled me from my thoughts. Allison Hayes stood outside, gesturing for me to roll down the window. "We need to talk," she said, glancing around the garage. "Not here. Meet me at Riverside Coffee in 20 minutes. Curious, despite my despair, I drove to the cafe a mile from the office. Allison was already waiting at a corner table, a manila folder beside her coffee. "I have been watching James since I joined the team," she said without preamble. "My previous company folded because of someone just like him. I started keeping records when I noticed the pattern." She opened the folder, revealing printed emails, screenshots, and a detailed timeline. "He did the same thing to my friend at Tech Dynamic. I knew his name before I even joined Apex." My hands trembled as I paged through her documentation. "Why are you showing me this? Because you are his latest victim, but you might not need to be his last. Derek approached me after your confrontation with James. He is ready to come forward too. Hope, dangerous and fragile, flickered to life. Sophia will not believe us without proof." "We have more than you think," Allison smiled tightly. "I have been backing up the code repository daily, documenting the unauthorized changes to your work. And there are others who will speak up if they know they are not alone." Over the next week, a covert coalition formed. Derek brought 2 former team members who had left because of James, but maintained relationships with current employees. Each had pieces of the puzzle: incidents, patterns, timestamps, witnesses. While gathering evidence, I also worked nights and weekends on a rescue implementation for the failed demonstration. If we were going to expose James, we needed to show that the project could succeed without him. The ethical question weighed on me: was this about justice or revenge? Megan helped me clarify my thinking one night as we sat on our apartment balcony. "If this were just about making James pay, I would worry about what it might do to you," she said, her hand warm in mine. "But this is about protecting others from what you experienced, and about showing that excellence and integrity still matter." Her wisdom grounded me. This would not be about destroying James, but about restoring what he had corrupted. We decided to bypass normal channels. Martin Blake, the CEO, had started Apex with a commitment to innovation and integrity. His open-door policy was legendary but rarely tested. Through a former executive assistant now working in accounting, we secured 15 minutes on his calendar. The meeting expanded to 2 hours as we presented our evidence methodically. Blake's expression darkened as the pattern emerged clearly: James taking credit for subordinates' work while systematically undermining their standing in the company. "And you have a working solution to the demonstration failure?" Blake asked, turning to me. "Yes, sir. We can deploy it within 48 hours. The security vulnerabilities are addressed, and performance is improved by 27% over the current implementation." Blake nodded slowly. "I want a full demonstration tomorrow morning. Bring everyone involved in this intervention. And no one speaks of this meeting to anyone, especially James or Sophia." The demonstration the next day included Blake, the CTO, and the head of HR. My implementation performed flawlessly. The contrast with the failed client demonstration could not have been more stark. "I have seen enough," Blake said afterward. "There will be a full investigation. In the meantime, James is suspended pending review, and Ryan will assume interim leadership of the Nexus project." James's attempt to discredit me came swiftly, but failed spectacularly. His frantic emails to executives claiming I had sabotaged the original demonstration only dug his hole deeper when compared against repository logs and witness statements. The final confrontation happened in a conference room with HR representatives present. James alternated between indignation and attempting to minimize his actions as standard mentorship. When presented with irrefutable evidence of his pattern of behavior across multiple projects and employees, his facade finally cracked. "Everyone does this," he shouted. "This is how business works. The strong take what they need from the weak. I just did it better than most." His words hung in the air, damning in their naked truth. 2 days later, James Walker resigned from Apex Technologies. The company announced a comprehensive review of project attribution and promotion practices. I received a formal apology from Sophia, who admitted she had been blinded by her long association with James. "I failed in my duty of care to my team," she said. "That will not happen again under my leadership." The Nexus project launched successfully 3 months later. Contracts were signed with 4 of the 5 potential clients who had witnessed the disastrous demonstration. My name appeared first on the project documentation, with appropriate credit to team members for their contributions. The team culture transformed under new leadership principles we established together: transparent attribution, collaborative success metrics, and structured mentorship with safeguards against abuse. 6 months after James's departure, I stood on a small stage at Apex's annual Innovation Awards, accepting recognition for the Nexus project's success. The applause was validating but less meaningful than the genuine smiles from team members who had become true collaborators rather than competitors. The experience changed me profoundly. I had entered the professional world believing that hard work and talent would inevitably be recognized. I now understood that systems are only as ethical as the people who run them, and that standing up against wrongdoing requires both courage and strategy. James took a position at a competitor across the country. Occasionally, his name would appear in industry publications, and I would feel a momentary tightness in my chest. The wounds had healed, but left scars, a wariness I carried into new relationships, a tendency to document conversations and agreements that Megan gently teased me about. My relationship with Megan grew stronger through the crucible of that time. She had seen me at my lowest, yet never wavered in her belief that integrity would ultimately matter. We married that autumn in a small ceremony with Derek as one of my groomsmen, and Allison giving an unexpectedly touching toast. I established a mentoring program for new hires at Apex, emphasizing ethical leadership and proper attribution of ideas. Each time a junior developer brought forward an innovative concept and received appropriate credit, it felt like a small victory against the culture James had tried to normalize. The most profound lesson was learning to trust again without becoming naive. The betrayal could have turned me bitter and isolated, constantly suspicious of others' motives. Instead, it taught me to balance openness with appropriate boundaries to share ideas while maintaining records to trust but verify. We all carry scars from our worst experiences. The choice lies in whether those scars become shields that isolate us or maps that guide us toward wiser paths forward. I chose to let mine be a map not just for myself, but for others who might face similar challenges. Have you ever experienced workplace betrayal or had your ideas stolen? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Remember that standing up for yourself does not make you difficult. It makes you someone worth respecting. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who might need to hear they are not alone in these experiences. Thanks for listening. And remember, your integrity is always worth protecting, even when it feels like the world rewards those without it.